This is your 2020 Cadillac CT5-V, and if you don't know, V is Cadillac's performance division, so Quirks, Perks, and Irks up front. I like the look. It's nice, it's clean, the Cadillac logo is fairly large. I think a lot of manufacturers miss that point when they have their front logo a little too small. 360 cam, there's your front camera. I love the lights because the turn signal is nice and low and it's nice and long. As a contrast point, it doubles as your day runner, so there it is right there in all white. Just back up to where we started, and that's what it looks like when your left turn signal is on. LEDs throughout, and it's a really, really nice, clean and conservative pattern here. And you get that nice flowing design right from the bottom all the way to the top, and it kind of follows the roof line and just goes right up, so the hood line, and goes right along to the hood. You get some sculpted patterns in the hood. You can kind of see them right there, right there, right there, and obviously along the edges as well. So it looks really, really sharp. Going around to where we started, it casts a really nice stance. If the wheels were turned to the right, I think it'd be a little better, but as you know, the exterior portion, we keep the wheels straight. There is a nice big V badging here, and I think it's a really nice place to put it right up front, nicely, cleanly put, and very easy to be seen. A bit of an irk here, I'll get to it more on the driving portion. So you got your turn signal in the side mirror, but it also comes out this way. There's other people behind you, but the blind spot monitoring sign is also here. So a few times when I was driving and I had my signal on, I thought it was the blind spot monitor. So I wish Cadillac would either not put it there, just kind of put it along the perimeter, just my 2 cents. But I do like on the perk side and on the design side, how it gets nicely angled as opposed to just being a straight rectangle. Cool perk, the Cadillac shape for the logo is the one-touch lock and unlock, so cool move there. You get a nice black body piece right along the bottom, just beneath the doors, and it just adds a little bit of character to it, and I think it looks really sharp. And you also get the black outlines across the windows, or sorry, around the windows. I like it better than chrome. I think the chrome would look a little tacky, so thank you, Cadillac, for doing that. Beautiful, nice 19-inch black wheels, looks really sharp. As we go to the rear, I'm going to back up a touch and give you a good solid look. I love the design of the taillights. Just has that nice vertical look, and again with the swoop, I'll call it a little closer for you. That nice swoop right there that mirrors what we had up front about a minute and a half ago. So another piece of black right along the, just above the license plate. Bay looks really sharp. Quad pipes look sharp. Just the whole bottom of the rear end looks really, really classy. Not aggressive, just nice and classy. You do get a little bit of a spoiler. I wish this was in black. I know I usually don't like mismatched colors, but it looks really, really nice. Sorry, it would look really, really nice in black. And it would be a nice accent to that piece there. Quick look in the trunk. Not a power trunk because there's no power close button, but it does go up on its own. I think there's 300 and a bit liters of cargo space. You've got a peculiar shaped opening back here. It's not quite rectangular, but it's rectangular-ish with some flares out on the top side, and it kind of just V's in. A quirk before we get in, the handles are fixed, but there's a little piece of plastic right there, and you push it, and that's how you get into all 4 doors. So rear seats, not too bad. A little bit of contours on the side. That poor middle passenger, look at the size of that tunnel. They won't be exactly the most comfortable, but there's still room for 5. Let me zoom back in. 1 USB and 1 cigarette lighter as far as power adapters go. You get vents, but you do not get rear climate controls. There's your armrest put down for your cup holders, and as far as space goes, again, I sit all the way back, I sit all the way up, so should be the least amount of space, but I can fit a solid foot of mine, and there it is all the way back. So a decent amount of leg space for your rear passenger here. Close it up. Let's take a look up front. Again, same thing. Touch a little piece of plastic on the inside of the handle, and off we go. I generally don't like carbon fiber, but the way it looks on this with the black and the orange contrast stitching looks really nice. Well done, Cadillac, on that. Back, let me give you a quick look there. As far as seats go, this has the massaging seats, and that's the button you press to activate it. So it's right between the seat bottom and the seat back controls, and it doesn't have different modes. It just kind of pulses out and in and out and in. So some's better than none, and that controls your side bolsters, and that is your lumbar support. As far as seat itself go, thigh bolsters, not great. They're just small and thin and a little flimsy for me. The Cadillac makes up for it with the CT5-V through these gigantic side bolsters, and they're big, they're thick, they're firm, and they hold you in place, and they're powered, so another good move there. Double stitching here in a single line on the outside, and the Cadillac logo there, and just the whole look of the seats has a premium look and feel to it, as it should for it being a luxury vehicle. That's what you're going to take a look at just before you get in, and as we get in, that's what you're looking at. Start stop button is right to the right, or sorry, just to the right. You get a cool graphic there. Start her up. And you get the big digital screen flanked by 2 analog dials, and you get the full sweep as soon as you start. The heads-up display, I like it because it is nice and colorful and easy to read. And all the controls for it are right here. You do not have to dig for anything. Brightness, info, and raising and lowering. So I'm just gonna zoom in a touch again. And if you just drop it all the way down, it's just completely out of sight. So that's a nice, easy alternative to knocking it off. I'm used to it now, so I'm gonna keep it on. Let's zoom back out, get regular sized steering wheel. It's weird that it's not plastic or leather, sorry. My issue with it is that, like, if I've got cream on my hands or if I'm eating in the car or whatever, it's much more challenging to remove stains from suede as opposed to like leather like this. So I don't know if I would get this specifically, or if I did get this car, I would get a steering wheel cover. On the plus side, the heated steering wheel button is right on the steering wheel, and it gets really hot really fast. So thank you very much for that, Cadillac. A bit of a quirk, the parking brake has a button right up top. Usually it's kind of buried down there, or it lives somewhere down here. But overall, I like the way everything's laid out. There is your V button, and that just puts you in a different mode, and we'll go through that on the driving portion, maybe a little bit through the interior portion as well. Going on to the infotainment system, big, easy, nice to pull information from, no issues. And I'm going to try and get a side view, and you can see it's actually tilted back quite a bit, as opposed to it being completely straight up like it would be there. It's more like that. So to me, I didn't notice as much glare, even though I thought I would, because if it's straight up, it's not going to have a lot of glare on it. I know you can see a little bit now, but that's because the sunroof shade is open. But throughout my week, I didn't have any problems, no glare, no reflections. So it was a really nice way to pull information out of it. The issue I have with it is it's a little redundant, because you can touch the screen to do your thing. You could also use this, and you can see the different things light up. So right now we're on CarPlay, and then settings, then users. And then if you quickly dip down just behind the gear shifter, it does the same thing. So 3 ways to do one thing. I don't know, I think this could have just not been there at all. This should have been moved over all the way just to give it a nice clean look. Gets my 2 cents on that. I love all the hard touch buttons. I don't care what anybody says. Thank you, Cadillac, for not making me dig through the screen to simply change where I want the air to go for my HVAC system. Or changing the temperature controls. Just sometimes newer isn't always better. This is a little weird. It says to put your keys in here, but like if it's keyless entry, I would never take the key out of my pocket under any circumstances, like ever. So that just seems a little weird. Closes up if you don't want to get crumbs like I did in the cup holder section. Drive modes are in here: automatic start stop, traction control, that's my hybrid word, and auto hold. I'll give you a quick look at the drive modes here. Sorry, that's not true. I'll give you a quick look here instead. Let's get that zoomed in, not zoomed in focus. So where were we? Right, drive modes. So let's start at the top. My mode, which has 4 different options, and then you get your touring mode, which is your standard mode. Sport mode just tightens everything up and remaps everything, and it just gives it a little more intensity. Track mode, well, track mode, and it's very fast. Going down one more, you have snow and ice, and that just starts the car in a lower gear, just to make sure you get that little bit of extra traction and reduce the amount of wheel spin. Gear shifter, not too bad, except for the fact that on the back of it is the suede, the same way we have it on the steering wheel. We can get them both in together. I just don't like it, not a big fan. What I am a big fan of is this rear view mirror, because I'm not focused today very well. Anyways, here we are. It's got that camera and the antenna at the back of the vehicle, so that's with it activated. I'm going to take it off now for a second, and that's your traditional rear view mirror. So if you have taller passengers, or if you have For example, I put my tripod on the back shelf, and as you can see, it will impede my vision. So if that's the case, I just flip it to that, and I get a much clearer view of everything all around. Last thing I want to touch on is the sunshade covers. And here they are, and it's a bit of a quirk and a bit of an irk. They operate together. You can't just have the front shade open and the rear closed and vice versa. You have to have them both open. And it's on a rolling system, so it just rolls into itself going that way. Little weird, just, I don't know, not really a big fan. I would like to have the option to have one closed and one open. Let's do the drive of the 2020 Cadillac CT5-V. Under the hood, you have a 3-liter twin-turbo V6, and that gets you 360 horsepower and 405 pound-feet of torque. All of it's run through Cadillac's 10-speed automatic transmission. So let's go straight into the driving feel and dynamics. It's a very supple and very comfortable ride, and that's typical Cadillac for you, but knowing that you have a ton of power underneath your right foot and under the engine, again with 360 horse, 405 pound-feet of torque, where the torque is more important than the horsepower, but anyways, I digress on that. But ride quality itself, it's very sharp as far as cornering and handling goes. There's a lot of precision here, and you don't ever have that feeling of, I'm turning the wheel, but the car is not following what I want it to do. And it's a very refined steering feel. As far as acceleration goes, because it's a V and it's got all sorts of power, it responds very nicely. There's a lot of torque on the low ends. There's a little bit of torque in the mids, but I found that a lot of the torque comes at higher RPMs and higher speeds. So there's enough to get you off the ground, so to speak. You kind of hang out in the mids around, 2,000, 2,500. There's still power, but it kind of just floats there for a little bit. But you punch the gas, and once you cross over that 2,600, 2,750 RPM spot, then the V just roars to life, and you really feel it, and it's just such a nice power delivery. It's smooth, it's not abrupt, it's not jerky, and it's just a real pleasure to drive. Now, as far as daily driving, because not everyone's going to take this to the track, it's smooth, it's easy to drive, it's easy to park. Having the 360 cam does help. Being a mid-size sedan, it's definitely not a full-size sedan, but if you don't want to scuff up, your bumpers front or back, utilize that 360 cam just to make sure you're well within your parking spots, whether you're in a grocery store or underground parking or wherever it is you happen to be. 360 cams are definitely a strong advancement as far as safety goes. Speaking of safety, what you get out of the box with the CT5-V, you get automatic emergency braking, you get forward collision alert and lane change assist and rear cross traffic alert. You got to tick some boxes for other packages if you want to get the full suite of safety systems. Regarding fuel consumption in liters per 100 kilometers, we are at 13.8 on city streets, 9.4 on the highway, and your blended total comes out to 11.8. All of this runs through 65.9 liters, not 66, but 65.9 liters of premium fuel. I've done 507 kilometers. There's like another 10 to go for the review process, and I gotta return the car, which is another 20. So I'm at 12.6. It's been a lot of city driving. Variables come into play, so yours might be higher or lower. But as far as the blended total, which was 11.8 from what Natural Resources Canada said, not too bad considering it's a twin-turbo V6. Quick spin into the V-mode option. You can control the engine sound, the steering, the suspension, the powertrain, as well as the brakes. And the cool thing is with the engine sound, you can actually change it to stealth. And whether you're coming home late at night or you're in a townhouse complex or whatever it is, and you don't want the big throaty V6 sounds coming through in your neighborhood, just switch to stealth, and I think your neighbors will thank you in the morning. As a secondary, you have the My Mode option, and that also lets you control engine sound and the steering and suspension and the brake response. So Cadillac has really given you the chance to set up the CT5-V the way you like it, the way you want it. CT5-V comes in rear-wheel drive out of the box, or you can pay a little bit more money and pick up the all-wheel drive option. To me, the differences are the excitement in the drive will come from the rear-wheel drive option, but the practicality will come out of the all-wheel drive. And being Canadian and having this being a Canadian car, I would go for the all-wheel drive. And it's a rear-wheel drive bias, which is cool and gives you that sporty feel. But the all-wheel drive, just Canadian winters, you can't really go wrong with having all-wheel drive here. That's going to wrap it up for the 2020 Cadillac CT5-V. If you've got any questions on the vehicle, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to get you answers as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate the support, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're comfortable doing so, maybe share the channel with somebody in your network, in your bubble, or you may know who may enjoy watching these reviews. Again, thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. Be well, be healthy, be safe, and I'll be back sooner than later with my next review.